Confidence without prudence can lead to recklessness. And, it plays in. I think that what we witnessed was a line being crossed, and he needed knocked back down a few rungs, and that's what I think we saw. I think that we have to be very careful not to cross that line. It's easy to do. Some of these fighters have gotten to where they are because of this thing that they call manifestation. What I like to teach to my boys is praying as if you've already received it. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of perspective. It's a matter of believing in yourself and trusting in God so much that the things that you want out of this life, you can achieve them through that process. You have to be careful not to become conceited or arrogant in that. And it can happen easily. I mean, there is a fine line that's there between self-confidence and self-belief and, arrogance and conceitedness. I mean, these are just things that you do not want to be. I don't know. I think that when you set yourself that high, it can end up being a long fall down. Hey, welcome back to Proving Proverbs. I'm Casper, and this is where we read the text, absorb the knowledge, display the wisdom, and reap the blessings. That's what Proving Proverbs is all about, implementing these things into our life and putting the Most High to the test, because that's the promise, blessings. When we implement these things into our life and we follow these instructions, blessings. That's what awaits. So that's what we're all about here. Anyway, if you're somebody who's been following along, you will notice that things have changed a little bit. And just a quick little update. It's summertime. My boys are home from school now for the summer. My wife is a teacher, so she is also home. So I had to make some adjustments here. I got booted out of my previous location, and now I had to set up shop out in my garage. And so if you notice a change in scenery, that's what's behind it. So not totally thrilled about it, but working through it, doing what we got to do here, make adjustments and keep rolling. So anyway, this week we are diving back in chapter 21, and what we try to do here is, focus on one keyword for the week. And I had trouble here on this one because I was struggling between two. And I figured, you know what, we'll just go ahead and talk about both of them because they do kind of play into each other in a small way. Now, I'm not sure which one will be on the thumbnail. We'll see how it goes during editing, but we're at least going to talk about both. And so haughty is the first one, and prudence is the other. And I think the reason why haughty stuck with me is because of this past weekend. If you are somebody that at all follows MMA, you will know that we just witnessed an historic event at the White House this past Sunday. And, I will just say, straight out the gate here, I do not in any way support our government being involved in sports. I think that they have better things to do with their time. But we are massive MMA fans here. And typically, me and my boys, we don't miss a fight. And this one was no different. We definitely could not miss this card. It was a fantastic fight night. A lot of great fights on the card. But the main event is the one that just kept coming to mind while I was reading this, and this whole concept of haughty eyes. Because to have haughty eyes is to elevate yourself above even the Most High. It's to place yourself in this position of God, almost. It's to view yourself so high that you have positioned yourself at the same level or above God. And when we do that, you end up getting knocked back down a few rungs. And I think that is absolutely what we witnessed in that fight. Well, not necessarily in the fight, but the events leading up to that fight. Because Ilia Topuria was the 155-pound champ, and the belt was up for grabs in that fight, and he was defending it against Justin Gaethje, who was the contender at 155. And it was an absolute war. And hopefully I'm not boring anybody with this, but it does play in. And, maybe after seeing this, if you haven't seen anything regarding that, just look into it a little bit and watch this guy, and you will see exactly what I mean by haughty eyes. Because, Ilia Topuria, he's someone who is definitely very confident in himself and in his abilities. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. I think that it's great to have self-belief and to be confident in yourself. I think that we should be. But I also think that there's a fine line that's there where you can cross that barrier into pridefulness and arrogance. And I think that that's absolutely what we witnessed leading up to that fight. Because listening to him, at the press conferences and during interviews and, media days, I don't know, he just really seemed arrogant to me. And I don't know, I think that when you set yourself that high, it can end up being a long fall down. And that's definitely what we witnessed. Because he was taken out in the 4th round by Justin Gaethje, and man, it was incredible because you could just feel his whole aura of confidence began to dissipate from him in rounds 3 and 4, to where it was an absolutely dramatic fall, I am sure. And that's what happens when we, set ourselves up that high. We are bound to fall. And the higher you place yourself, the further the fall. And so we definitely don't want to go there. And, it's interesting because, I have talks with my boys often. I have 2 teenage boys now. And I say now because my younger one just turned 12 yesterday. And so I'm dealing with 2 teenagers now. And, I try to teach them to have that confidence and to have that self-belief, and to try and carry themselves that way, being confident in their abilities, and being capable. But you have to be careful not to become conceited or arrogant in that. And it can happen easily. I mean, there is a fine line that's there between self-confidence and self-belief and, arrogance and conceitedness. I mean, these are just things that you do not want to be. And it takes, I think, audits periodically to make sure that you have not crossed that line. Because that's what I think we absolutely witnessed, with this fight. And, with that, this whole idea that Topuria has is that you can manifest these things into reality, and there's many fighters who stand by that claim that the reason they are where they are is because of this incredibly immense self-belief, and they believe that they can actually bring things into existence, to actually manifest these things into reality by believing in them. And although that's a secular thought, it actually comes from a book called The Secret. This whole idea of manifestation. I don't think it's far from the biblical view of praying as if you've already received it. I mean, to me, these are pretty much the same thing. And so I don't think that it's out of reach to think that something like that is possible, and that is how these, some of these fighters have gotten to where they are, because of this thing that they call manifestation. What I like to teach to my boys is praying as if you've already received it. It's the same thing. It's just a matter of perspective. It's a matter of believing in yourself and trusting in God so much that the things that you want out of this life, you can achieve them through that process. And there's a lot to it. This would be a very long video to get into all the details, but yeah, I think that there is some truth in that. But I think you got to have the right perspective about it all, or it can get woo-wooey and into new age, philosophy. And we aren't looking to go there. But anyway, yeah, I just thought it was interesting, because I think that is absolutely what we witnessed. And, once again, these words prove to be true, even today, thousands of years after they were written. And they will continue to be true because, well, these things aren't bound by time. They are timeless. And the wisdom that they carry is also timeless. And so, I think we just see that over and over again. Anyway, chapter 21 starts out, like flowing water is the heart of the king in the hand of Yahweh, who turns it where he pleases. A man's conduct may strike him as upright. Yahweh, however, weighs the heart. To act virtuously and with justice is more pleasing to Yahweh than sacrifice. Haughty eye, proud heart, lamp of the wicked, nothing but sin. The hardworking man is thoughtful, and all is gained. Too much haste, and all that comes of it is want. To make a fortune with the help of a lying tongue, such the idle fantasy of those who look for death. The marauding of the wicked entraps them through their refusal to do what is right. The way of the felon is devious, the conduct of the innocent straightforward. Better the corner of a loft to live in than a house shared with a scolding woman. The wicked man's soul is intent on evil. He looks on his neighbor with dislike. When a mocker is punished, the ignorant man grows wiser. When a wise man is instructed, he acquires more knowledge. The just one watches the house of the wicked. He hurls the wicked to destruction. He who shuts his ear to the poor man's cry shall himself plead and not be heard. Anger is mollified by a covert gift, raging fury by a bribe under cover of the cloak. For the virtuous man it is a joy to execute justice, but it brings dismay to evildoers. The man who strays from the way of prudence will rest where the shades gather round him. Pleasure lovers stay poor. He will not grow rich, which loves wine and good living. The wicked man is the price to be paid for the virtuous, the deceiver for the upright. Better to live in a desert land than with a scolding and irritable woman. If in a wise man's dwelling there is precious treasure and oil, the fool will gobble it up. He who pursues virtue and kindness shall find life and honor too. The wise man can scale a citadel of warriors and throw down the rampart it entrusted. He who keeps watch over his mouth and his tongue preserves himself from disaster. Arrogant, haughty, his name is mocker. Overweening pride marks his behavior. The idler's desires are the death of him, since his hands will do no work. The godless is forever coveting. The virtuous man gives without ever refusing. The sacrifice of the wicked man is abhorrent above all when they offer for bad motives. The false witness will meet his doom, but the speech of the obedient will always be heard. The wicked man assumes an air of confidence. The honest man gives his own conduct careful thought. Neither wisdom, nor prudence, nor advice can stand in Yahweh's presence. The horse is caparisoned for the day of battle, but in Yahweh the victory belongs. And that word there, caparisoned, it's to be decked out. It's, the horse was decked out with, jewels and ornaments before the battle. So anyway, there was a few verses in there that I read that just instantly brought, that whole situation surrounding that event over the weekend to mind. Arrogant, haughty, his name is mocker. Overweening pride marks his behavior. And, that was absolutely what we saw. I mean, he was mocking his opponent. I mean, just, in my opinion, definitely crossed the line. Haughty eyes, proud heart. They go hand in hand. This other one here too. Wise man can scale a citadel of warriors and throw down the rampart it trusted in. And so, this is what I think we witnessed in that event. And I was honestly glad that my boys got to witness it. Because, I mean, like I was saying, I try to teach them these things. And my older son, after the fight, he was asking me, what do you think happened there? Because he had such a self-belief. What happened? Because typically it seems like these things do manifest. They work. He speaks and it comes into existence. And so, what do you think happened? Do you think the other guy had more? I think that what we witnessed was a line being crossed, and he needed knocked back down a few rungs, and that's what I think we saw. I think that we have to be very careful not to cross that line. It's easy to do. It's very interesting to me how that all worked out here for him over the weekend. But I want to talk about prudence a little bit, because it plays in a little bit here, because confidence without prudence can lead to recklessness. And, it plays in. And, prudence is something that I feel like is lacking, among many things today in society. And the definition of prudence is the ability to govern oneself through the use of reason, combining sound judgment, foresight, and cautious management in practical affairs. It is the wisdom to make the right decisions and to take the best course of action to avoid unnecessary risks. And I just think that we are living in very interesting times right now. And, there's a lot of people that are struggling through these times. I mean, with the cost of living increases and just, things are getting harder and harder out there for people to manage and to survive. And so prudence becomes a key attribute once again, because I do think that a lot of these moral characteristics fell from society, long ago. And that's what I think we're witnessing here in all of this, is just a complete lack of godly virtue. And prudence is absolutely one of those things. And so we need to approach our affairs with prudence, especially today. And so I also wanted to make sure that we also focused on that word, because it is a very important one, and something I just don't think you can have enough of today. So prudence is the other word. Yeah, so that's all I got for this week. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like the video. Comment. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know, what you got going on, and where you're at with these things, how it's all working out for you. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel as we continue our journey through the book of Proverbs, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. And until next week, 9 a.m. Eastern, Sunday. Subscribe if you haven't. See you then.